Thank you for witnessing the second gathering around the plasma revolution and what's about to be unfolding here today. For those of you that weren't at the first weekend, or the first day, which turned into a weekend with other aspects, you missed something very, very exciting. But there's going to be a recap here today, and we're going to take it on into what was really asked for on that day, to the practicality of actually experiencing what this plasma revolution is actually about. It's going to be a very, very exciting day. Having been around on the planning, not one of the planners, but having been around on the planning, I really know that we're going to be going away so charged and so recharged from the energy of everyone in the room, from the energy of what the plasma can offer to us. I'm Ray. This is my family home. It has been since 1953, and I welcome you sincerely to this beautiful space. This is perhaps, I'm not necessarily including this building, but we can imbibe it with a wonderful feeling. This started life back in '76 as an indoor tennis court, the very first in the country that was privately owned, and it's quite interesting that here we are pioneering again with the first, and I think it's very appropriate that we do that here. So I just want to quickly mention the toilet facilities. This is one toilet down the steps out of this door here and on the right. If there's anybody using that and you're caught short, there are some other toilets which are part of the campsite over in the valley, just down a ways here, and you're welcome to use those. So really, I'd just like to hand over to Malcolm, who I met a few years ago. He's become a very, very good friend. He's going to intro us today and start us on this workshop and journey of revolution, evolution, and everything new.
Okay, thank you very much, Ray. Thank you very much. Okay, so just a quick sound check. Can you all hear me at the moment? Is that better? Yes. Okay, fine, good. Quick run through of the... well, first of all, thank you very much for coming, everybody. Hope you all had a decent journey. You're all here on time, so presumably you did. So here's the running order for today. We'll do a quick welcome. Then Oliver will be going on to some of the theory, and then we're moving on to the demonstration. Lunch, which will be some soup. We've got some rolls. And I made a point of buying chocolate biscuits, not just ordinary biscuits. And then obviously we'll be moving into the practicalities, more chocolate biscuits, and then the sharing at the end. So to move on, just a quick recap. The reason why you're here, you're accepting responsibility for your own life and you're becoming self-empowered. That's what this technology is all about. It's teaching us all to start learning about really where we are, where we're at, where we're going, and to be self-empowered about how we take our lives forward and our healing forward. So it's all about awareness, self-empowerment, and looking at plasma and GANs and trying to start thinking into the plasma and GANs arena. Two of the key people, Dr. Emoto and Luc Montagnier, I would recommend you look them up on YouTube. Dr. Emoto, as you know, probably has shown how water can hold memory through the freezing of crystals and looking at them through a microscope. Luc Montagnier may not be quite so well known to you all. He is a French guy. He is well known in the Nobel Prize winning circle because he actually discovered the HIV virus. He then went on to show how he could move the memory of water from one country to another country using the internet. And that video is on YouTube, and I recommend you watch that. The other video I recommend you watch is on Victor Schauberger, because he goes into the not only the movement of water, but the shape that the water needs to move energetically. And that's very interesting. And that actually brings you on to another area of biogeometry, which I'm actually looking into at the moment. Some of you may be familiar with that, but biogeometry, I believe, has got a relevance to play with this science. So what we're trying to do is think about fields. So every time you're working with the plasma, you're working with a field. So as we all sit here, we're all interacting with fields around us. Everything, words, numbers, ourselves, are all a field. So if you look over to your right, you'll be able to see 3 interesting TARDISes. The one on the far end is what we call a cocoon. So this is something that I've developed together with Katrina, my partner. Basically what's happening there is there's a mosquito net. The mosquito net is formed of many small geometric shapes. Each of those geometric shapes where the linen crosses actually is an energy point. If you then add a layer of plasma water onto that, what you're doing is forcing a field of plasma, the energy of that particular plasma, into the cocoon. And then you can sit within the cocoon and you definitely really will feel it. There's quite a few people who have already tried it here and they've been quite amazed. You'll go in and you think you've done about an hour's meditation when you come out, but you've only actually been in there for about 15 minutes. It's actually brilliant for using this alongside other therapies, because what it does, it prepares the person before the therapy and gets them into the right space, that when you have your therapy, you enter into a very deep healing space almost immediately. So I recommend you have a go at that. The idea is that there's a spray bottle next to the cocoon. The idea is that when you sit, I ought to mention that everything in the cocoon is part of the energy. So what we try and do is make sure there are only natural materials in the cocoon. Obviously, if you quite like plastic or tin or aluminium, that's part of your energy field, that's fine. Take it in there with you. But we've got a wooden chair, and the idea is the cocoon material comes down underneath the chair, then you spray the outside, and you actually spray the ground as well with the material. And then you use your intent to bring a movement to the energy, and this will then help you relax. It works, the particular GANs in there is a CO2 GANs, and that helps work on your nervous system, which is why it is very good for preparing you for therapies. So 10-15 minutes there. I'll be there to start off with, just doing a little bit of supervision, but essentially what you're doing is preparing yourself by taking shoes and socks off, any belts and buckles with metal remove, so you're down to, I mean, you can strip off if you like, it's entirely up to you, but and then you spray on the outside, and then you'll be in there for 10-15 minutes. And if you can do it with somebody or have a timer, if you've got your phone with you, put a timer on. Then moving on to the next TARDIS. This is a series of GANs in pockets, and each colour represents a different GANs, and each pocket, because it's a different GANs, provides a movement of energy across between the 2 pockets, and then you sit in the middle, and this will then provide you with a healing energy going through you. I don't think there's anything other than that to say on that, is there?
There's the different sizes, which makes it
Oh yeah, okay, so yeah, so the different pockets are different sizes, so that will give a gradient across the stool that you'll see in the middle. Then the third TARDIS you'll see there is actually a hoop with GANs water in it that's obviously circling around you, and this creates a field actually very similar to the cocoon. It's not quite the same, but it has the same effect. Is there anything more on that?
Jonathan's got some graphics actually showing what the energy fields are like.
Excellent. Okay, fine. Okay, so I'm jumping the gun a little bit there. Yeah. Okay.
And,
Just to bring you.
And feedback experience is really useful because these are all early days.
Yeah, all very early days.
So feedback is good.
Yeah, lots of feedback. I can actually give you a bit of feedback on the on the cocoon. So these are people. We've had about 20 people try out the cocoon. I actually live in Ibiza a lot of the time, and we've had about 20 people try out the cocoon, and there's actually a pyramid as well. So, for example, somebody will know there, after about 5 minutes in the cocoon, the sway and environmental factors around me, the soft breeze penetration of the cotton netting and the sleepy vibration of the cicadas, because we get lots of cicadas in the lulled me into a deep meditational state, and by the end of the session I found myself curled into a fetal position, swaying in the cool mist created by the breeze. And interestingly, when Ray tried it yesterday for the first time, the first word he used was fetal, because it has that very surrounding, comforting effect. I came out, eyes brighter, brain alert. Afterwards, my nervous system rebooted, and I had to sleep to allow this process, all in a deep cleansing experience. So that, moving on, when I went into the cocoon, it was easy for me to enter into a state of meditation and peace. Since a few years, I have little jump-offs, and what she's referring to there is where her nervous system takes an electrical jolt. It's quite common actually with people when they're going through a change. It's happened to me quite a bit. The feeling of lifting off the ground when I meditate, this happened to me a lot when I entered the cocoon. Other than that, I can say that it was a calming, peaceful experience, and I felt very good afterwards. Scott, who's from America, the cocoon gives you an opportunity to take a moment and have a unique experience in an energetic environment and rebalance. Then, let me go on quickly to, so essentially it works. When you go in there, you definitely get an effect. So I would recommend you give it a try. If you're particularly sensitive, you might want to be aware that actually when you come out, you will need a few minutes, 5 or 10 minutes maybe, just to realign, because you won't be quite with it. So the second experiment that we've been doing in Ibiza is with a pyramid, which you'll see here. So this is a similar environment. You spray the outside. The energy in the pyramid works differently, because the energy actually bounces from the centre out to the sides and back. So it's every time it bounces, it increases in its intensity, and with that, it's when you're going for a massage, often you're given a carrier oil, which is a basic oil, and the GANS in that case is acting as a carrier oil on the outside of the pyramid. Your intent is actually the thing that makes the session for you. That's your decision about what you want to do. So you can either enliven yourself, or you can relax, or you can focus on doing a specific piece of healing. So here's a little quote from somebody. I've experienced 2 sessions in the pyramid. Halfway through the first session, after a racing mind and thoughts, my body deeply relaxed, so much so that I found my limbs to become so heavy I could barely lift them. Incredible relaxation. My intent for the second session was to feel energised for my journey back to the UK, and I felt it has worked wonders. I feel so much better and clearer in my mind. He also actually added, I also had a session in the cocoon and had 4 bowel movements afterwards, which is quite interesting.
We need to know.
Yeah, we really did.
Well, there's nothing like a bit of releasing, is there? Okay, so when we first built the cocoon, on the left here you'll see we actually suspended the seat, and if you can hang it in a forest, it's even better. It's amazing. With the pyramid, you provide a bed to lie on. To charge the water, you just have 2 large canisters. This is the GANS here, and these are 8-litre jars, and you need a spray. So it's very easy to put together. And that was where the first part of our experiments have got us so far. Moving on quickly, this is our swimming pool. We then looked at how we could use the... I'll come to that in a minute. We looked at how we could use the GANs constructively, because there are 10,000 swimming pools in Ibiza, and each one is full of chlorine or salted. So if we could get rid of that problem, that's 10,000 swimming pools full of chlorine not being emptied into the forest every year. So we then we made some shungite GANs, and we put that in the swimming pool, and we stopped adding chlorine. So we'd had a chlorine-full pool, stopped the chlorine, added the shungite. Usually what happens, within 2 or 3 days, the pool starts turning green. Amazingly, after 5 weeks, It was still like this. And so obviously we wanted to know what was going on. Last week on the Thursday, the temperatures went from around 33 degrees up to 40 degrees, and then we started getting a little bit of green coming into play. And we had some tests done, and this was the test that we took in Ibiza. Everything was fine. The only negative thing were these two readings here, which indicated the presence of bird poo in the pool. There's not much you can do about that. If you go swimming in a normal river, in a lake, you're going to experience far more than that. So it's not a big deal. But obviously, from a public health point of view, they're obliged to say to you, you have to remove it completely, and therefore you get into the round of dumping big loads of chlorine in the pool again. So we're not totally convinced that those requirements are necessary in the swimming pools, provided you take the proper precautions. So we then had a test done. Somebody was staying with us, came back here, and she took some tests, and it turned out that, in fact, the level of biology present in the water was 10 times better than the UK standard that they use to open a swimming pool. So that's pretty impressive. It works. But we're still working on how to get the balance right, so you have a perfectly clear pool and the biology is right as well. So that we're right in the middle of that at the moment. And to that end, somebody turned up on my doorstep and gave me some more shungite. Shungite comes from Russia. There's only one place in the world it comes from. The deposit is 100% shungite, but 5% of it is much, much stronger than the rest of it. He turned up, having bought this extra strong 5% from a Russian geologist, and gave us that and said, right, make some shungite gangs out of that and see what happens. So just before we came, I'd made some, put it in the pool, and we're just keeping a track of what's happening. So it's all in all, it's a very impressive set of circumstances. We had a German guy come. He's an expert in natural pools. He couldn't work it out at all, but he's very happy with what he's seeing. And there's a water committee in Ibiza, and what they're actually doing is looking and seeing how we could use the shungite to improve the quality of the well water. Because the drinking water comes from deep below the island. So, very exciting stuff, and we got involved, and we're going to be, from the 8th of August, next Tuesday, Agua Sabia is going to be the organisation through which we're going to be working with people from the Ibiza Council to try and resolve some of the problems. So it's all a bit exciting. So just to explain a little bit about the pyramid again, when I started looking at this and understanding how the energy was working, as I said before earlier, it's coming up to the sides and bouncing back. When you're lying here, you're right in a power point, and you can choose to use that power point or not. It's entirely up to you. So I had these rather nice sunbeds made. A gentleman up in Bishop Stortford who's particularly good at crafting things. His father was a cabinet maker. He's also made me a pyramid kit. We've got half of it here, but you can see the sort of quality. Perfectly machined, and these come with 6 bamboo poles. They're due for arrival this morning. When they come, we'll set it all up and you can have a look at that. But the kits aren't expensive, and he's a great craftsman. So on the 8th, when we get back, we're launching, doing a soft launch for our project, which is actually going to be called Pop-Up Pyramids. And they will have one of these inside the pyramid, and that's actually going to go into an already established chiropractic practice in Ibiza, so that people can use that and then go in for their chiropractic session. Now, why did I go for that type of arrangement? Well, as I said earlier, I looked at biogeometry. Dr. Karim, he's a guy that actually resolved an issue with a village in Germany, after the installation of some mobile phone masts, many people were suffering with problems, headaches, etc. He turned up with his geometric dowsing arrangements and sorted the problem out. It was in the press, there's a YouTube video you can watch on it, but essentially what he's doing is looking at how we influence our environment, our field, using geometry, shape, numbers, and that's exactly what he did. Once he'd resolved the problem, and he did this by finding where the masts were, standing where the masts were, and the people who were suffering were standing behind him, he then used the geometry, and instantly, when he hit a certain point, their symptoms disappeared. When he moved it slightly off, the symptoms came back. And interestingly, once he'd resolved that, then what started to happen was they were started to be affected from masts further away. So he had to come back and do the whole thing again. But it worked. So where he's coming from is geometric shapes have an influence on the field you are in. As I'm talking now, there's energy coming out, and it's affecting your field, the field of everything. Any shape, any sound, any number will affect the field you're in. So if you combine that with other things, so for example here he's designed bottles which are tested by him again, but they put water in them, then you get a really magnificent effect, because what you're actually doing... Anybody got a GANS gun? What you're actually doing is removing all the negative effects of the energy in a spot or around you, and then you'll be using the GANs, and therefore the GANs will actually be very much more quick acting. It won't be any more efficient, because it's perfectly efficient already, because it's working at the quantum level, but it will work much quicker. That's what I'm looking into, and I can report on that later. So there's elements of that that's got to be looked at with the pyramid and other shapes. For example, this first TARDIS here. So I think that's probably. Actually, on that respect, one other thing I should say: we've had great results using GANs and a fan, believe it or not. So this is a fan. If you place your bottle of GANs that you believe is the one for you, for whatever condition you've got, and leave it in your room overnight while you're sleeping, then what you're actually doing is creating the same effect as diving into a swimming pool full of shungite GANs. The shungite GANs pool was absolutely amazing. It felt like silk, swimming in silk, and you could go out till, as I did a number of times, till 2 o'clock in the morning, having a great time, and so you don't feel too bad in the morning when you wake up, just jump in the pool. And I didn't want to get out the pool, it felt so good. And there are several witnesses here who can testify to that, because they did it as well. So it does work, and then you can have a very, very peaceful night's sleep. So using this fan, what you're doing is filling up your space with this same energy, and then because you're sleeping in it, you enter your theta state, and then you're more likely to match that energy in that room and transform while you're sleeping. So the experience we've had is that people with one person with bronchitis type cough, another person with just a cough left over from cold, etc., that have been hanging around. We gave them a bottle of CO2 and a bottle of, actually 2 tubs of CO2 that I've made, and in the morning they said the whole thing was gone. So that's our experience, just to show you it does work. And so when you go forward with your practicalities today, you will be doing so with fervour and commitment, because you know it works. So that's about it. Thank you very much.
I've only watched some of your early videos. Is the field the same as what Irving Laszlo calls the Akashic field, as far as you know?
Well, it depends on where you come from with that, because You could say it's the same thing, but I don't think we're saying that in this case, no.
We'll talk about what is plasma in 10 minutes'
Yeah.
time. So we'll talk about a bit of that in 10 minutes.
How much gas did you put in the pool?
How much? Probably about this much.
Really?
Yeah, it was a bottle that big, and just the bottom centimetre, not even that, had the GANs in it. Every piece of GANs is a little bit of a sun, or is a sun. So it's very powerful. We've had to, when the temperature went up, we've had to change it out because we found that it went from what was a bright turquoise colour to a sandy yellow colour. So when we left, we changed that bottle out, and we'd actually added another bottle because we've got to try everything basically and run through it in order.
So was it the actual gas or the gas water you used?
No, it was GANs in distilled water. So it was just, yeah.
Were you floating a bottle in?
Yeah, sorry, I should make that clear. So what I did, I took a glass bottle, not that big, but smaller one, and then tied it off so that the top, whatever the top was out of the water. And we found that there was a link, there's a possible link between the fact that the GANs went yellow and the fact we had a cork in the top. So I changed that out for screw top and just left the top of the bottle out of the water. So it didn't go rusty.
It doesn't mix, it stays in the water.
Doesn't mix with the water. It's everything's a field. It's pushing out a field. Yeah. Anyone else? No? Okay, hand over to.
There'll be other questions and answers, just before lunch as well, as we gather your questions. Notice. The what? The shungite. Yes. That's to make a different flavour of GANs. We'll mention that in the next section. Remember that one. The last picture actually here, in terms of the health units, this was another one made by a guy, Cesar Diaz, who's very creative in Spain. And this is an inflated tractor tyre tube, I think, with a toroidal looping of the PVC tubes, food-grade silicone tubes, which are what the hoops TARDIS are made with as well. But that's really cool. And the whole thing about this is invention. And there's no wrong way to do things. Some things may work more efficiently or less efficiently, but we don't know without trying. But this is beautiful, and it also helps somebody just to lie down. So one thing with the standing up ones is maybe people don't want to stand up for too long, although that's how they were started in the Kesh Foundation, was the standing up health units. So, and dogs like it. And I'll show you a picture later of my cat as well. So yeah, it's to experiment and go forth, and it's all teamwork. And so now, you've seen that one. When people go, when you try this one, for example, and the cocoon, do remember to take your shoes off to be in on the platform or in the cocoon.
What do you call that one?
I haven't got a name for it. The colourful one I've called Katinka. I know you want to ask about names, perhaps, but this is it's a vertical healing system. But if you can think of a name, tune in with her or him. It's 7 hoops. 7 hoops as a healing TARDIS, I'm calling it TARDIS. So now, I'm just going to introduce Jane Corbett. She's going to do a little 5-minute intention setting with us, a little moment of silence. And Jane maybe would do it round, everyone could stay at their tables, but just link hands perhaps, rather than moving everything. Do you think? Yeah. 5, 10, yeah. Well done, Mike. That was in 20 minutes. As ever, there's so much to talk about, even though we've got 2 days, so we want to get you into practical stuff soon too. But Jane, 5 or 10? Yeah, this is some intention setting, it brings some focus.